Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends, and welcome to Boogeyman Ben's Horror Zone. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. This is a tag response to my buddy Sean Erschen. He tagged me in a video that he just did talking about his top 10 favorite horror movie remakes. Now, if people that know me know that I don't have typically a problem with horror movie remakes. There's been a couple that I've questioned. And then there's some that I questioned that I ended up really liking, and there's some that I thought might be good that I ended up hating. But for today, I'm going to be talking about my top 10. I'm also going to have a couple of honorable mentions. I'm not going to go into great details about each of the movies in terms of, plot, characters, all that, but, just going to talk about why I like them and, if I prefer them over the original, which there are a couple of instances where that did happen. And I want to thank Sean for tagging me, and I will tag a few people at the end of this video, so I hope everyone enjoys this. First, 3 honorable mentions. So I got my list here, so I don't forget. Put that right there. So I got 3 honorable mentions. First one I want to talk about is Evil Dead. The Evil Dead remake is one that I absolutely loved. Didn't fit into my top 10 because I've never been a big fan of the franchise. I like it, I appreciate it, but it's never been my favorite horror movie franchise. But the Evil Dead remake, next to the original, The Evil Dead, is my favorite. I actually really loved it. It was a fantastic movie-going experience. Totally creepy, great gore. I love everything about it. It was fun. It was the story I thought made sense of why they were at this cabin. I felt like it could have been a sequel more than a remake, because there is a little hint of something that I don't want to spoil for people, but there is a hint that it does exist in the original franchise's universe. But it still stands as a remake to me because it's called Evil Dead. But yeah, I had a blast with this film, and I think Fede Alvarez did a great job directing it, and yeah, I absolutely love that film, and one of the best horror movie-going experiences I've ever had. The next movie I want to talk about is one that probably nobody is talking about, and that is Dark Castle's House of Wax. Now, of course, this does not compare to the original with Vincent Price, but it is a really interesting new take on that subject matter without being a direct remake. It's not very similar to the original. There's a couple of elements spliced in here and there, but for the most part, it's a brand new story. It's got a fantastic cast. It was one of the first times I saw Jared Padalecki, which most people know from Supernatural and the Friday the 13th reboot, as well as Alicia Cuthbert, who was known from 24, Chad Michael Murray. The direction on this was really good. I thought it was very engaging. I liked all of the performances. The fact that Paris Hilton was in it was something that when it initially was announced, because we're going back, at least 14 years when this movie came out. But initially I was like, oh, this movie's going to be horrible. But to my surprise, she's not that bad in it. I'm not saying she's fantastic in terms of her acting skills, but she's actually pretty decent in it. I thought it had a good cast, and I thought it had an engaging storyline, and there's some really shocking moments in it, and I think it benefited a lot from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. It does have some elements like that because it's a road trip that's involved, but yeah, I really like this film, and I think it's the best remake that's came out of the Dark Castle films, which started in 1999 with House on Haunted Hill. And my last honorable mention is going to go to the Amityville Horror. I thought the remake was fantastic. Again, put out by Platinum Dunes, starring Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George and a very young Chloe Grace Moretz. I think this film is way more engaging than the original Amityville Horror, which I find to be very boring outside of Margot Kidder, who's gorgeous, and may she rest in peace, but I thought she was fucking gorgeous in that film. I absolutely loved her in the film, but James Brolin I wasn't a big fan of. I thought the execution was kind of bland. The music in the original was fantastic, the setting was fantastic, but the story was just kind of boring. I actually prefer Amityville 2: The Possession over the original, but I really like the remake. I think the remake has a lot of good tension. I think Ryan Reynolds really stepped up his game in this film because primarily he had been known for Van Wilder and that television show. I think it was Two Guys and a Girl in a pizza place or something like that, but that's what he had been known for, and in this he gives a very dramatic performance. Starts off having his little quips, but he really moves into a very scary role that I thought was commanding, and Melissa George is fantastic in it as well. Just really great moments. I thought there was some really eerie moments, very scary. Just an excellent film, and it was a great theater-going experience as well. Okay, starting with number 10, we have My Bloody Valentine. I absolutely love the My Bloody Valentine remake. Now, I saw it before I saw the original. The original is fantastic, and I absolutely adore that film as well. I actually like both a lot. But I think this remake was fantastic. Again, theater-going experience. Was the first horror movie I ever saw in 3D, because I was too young to see Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. I was like 8 when that movie came out. But seeing this movie, My Bloody Valentine, there was some truly amazing moments. It also stars Jensen Ackles, who I didn't know from Supernatural at the time, but I thought he was really good in it. Jamie King is great in it. You also have the amazing who cannot say enough great things about my man Tom Atkins. Fantastic performance in this as well. I think Patrick Lucero and Todd Farmer did a fantastic movie. Again, the 3D effects in this are absolutely amazing. Still probably my favorite 3D movie-going experience ever after Pacific Rim. It just was so much fun, very scary. There's a lot of kind of red herrings of who is, is it really Harry Warden? Who is it? Who is the miner? I thought that was really cool. Absolutely love this film. Can't say enough great things about it. Number 9 is going to go to Piranha 3D. Love that original Piranha film. A lot of fun. Can't say enough great things about Joe Dante, but Piranha 3D was a fucking blast. Another fantastic 3D going movie experience. Just the Piranha effects and the fantastic cast. You have the awesomely gorgeous Elizabeth Shue. I've had a crush on her since Karate Kid. You also have Jerry O'Connell. You have the amazing Ving Rhames, who's one of my favorite actors. And there's just a lot of just amazing. The fun movie is so much fun. I couldn't believe it didn't do better. It was just what you want out of a B movie with a higher budget. The effects are great. There's some terrific nudity in it, some gorgeous women in it like Kelly Brook, who is, oh my god, absolutely stunning. There's this underwater nude swim scene that's just amazing, and like I said, the gore is amazing. When Ving Rhames rips off a boat motor and starts killing the piranha, it's just one of the fucking most awesome scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Total blast. Piranha effects are great. Just a lot of fun. You laugh, you're scared. It has every element working for it, and Alexandria Aja does a great job in it. Just a great job directing it. I absolutely love Piranha 3D. So number 8 is another Alexandria Aja film, and that's the Hills Have Eyes remake. I saw this one again before I saw Wes Craven's original. I actually prefer the remake over the original. No disrespect to the late great Wes Craven, who was one of my favorite horror film directors, my favorite directors of all time, but there was just something about the remake that I thought worked better. It's a really shocking, disturbing film that I felt had a great, family dynamic. Really, you are with the survivors as they battle these cannibalistic, kind of nuclear mutated people that live in the hills. A terrifying film, and I thought great gore, really suspense-filled, terrific action. I can't say enough great things about the Hills Have Eyes remake. I absolutely love it. Number 7 on my list is one that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and that's The Blob. The Blob was a remake in 1988. It had Kevin Dillon, Johnny Smith. It was directed by Chuck Russell, who would go on to direct The Mask. He had just previously directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3. The remake was just so fantastic, and I think it's all due to the performances. The effects are great. I just loved everything about it. It's a terrific, terrific film, and I think more people should be talking about it. It was also co-written by Frank Darabont and features Jeffrey DeMunn. Can't say enough great things about The Blob.
Number 6 on my list is going to go to David Cronenberg's The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum and Dina Davis. I remember seeing this film in the theater. I was about 12 when this movie came out. Came out the same summer as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in 1986. I went and saw it with a friend. My friend Gaith, who's actually my tattoo artist now, and it was my mom's neighbor that took us to see it. And I just remember it fucked me up because it was like a really adult film, more adult than I was ready for. It really bothered me. I had seen Jeff Goldblum in Transylvania 65000. I think that was the first thing I had seen him in, and Gina Davis I had known from Fletch. But yeah, it was such a disturbing movie, but it's such a good film, and so different from the original film. You have this man that's slowly deteriorating and becoming this creature, and you're with him the entire way. I mean, just like, I remember putting myself in this position, like, what would I do if this was happening to me? Like, his body is just changing, his teeth are falling out, his fingernails are falling off, his ears are falling off, he's turning into something else, and it's just so tragic and disturbing. And the fly vomit scenes just really got to me. It made me sick watching them, but everything about this film just gets to you. And not only is it a terrific monster movie, but it's a very tragic human film. Really well drawn out characters, excellent storytelling, a film that is still so effective to this day, over 30 years after its release. Can't say enough great things about it.
Number 5 on my list is going to go to the It remake, which surprises even me, because I loved it when I saw it in the theater, but it's been on cable a lot. I mean, I bought the Blu-ray when it came out. It's been on cable, since, for the last year, off and on. And every time I watch it, I'm just completely engaged. I love the 1990s version, or the 1990s miniseries that came out, because I was in high school when that came out. I'm still in the middle of reading the book, which is pretty bad on my part. It was a book that's really been hard for me to get through, but I'm committed to getting done with that book before the second part of this remake series comes out. But just a fantastic cast, and I can't say enough great things about Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. I love everything about this film. There's a couple of character things that they changed around with regards to the kids, particularly Mike, which I wasn't a big fan of. I'm still having a hard time with it, but you know, I'm waiting to reserve judgment until we see the second part of this film series. But the kids are great in it. Bill Skarsgård is fantastic as Pennywise. I love Tim Curry as Pennywise, but there was just something about Bill Skarsgård and the way that he performed. The thing is that the way that Pennywise was portrayed by Tim Curry was almost like he just seemed like a clown. Whereas Skarsgård, the way that he did it, and of course, you know, we have the updated technology, he seems like something that's trying to be a clown, but it's not working. He doesn't come. It's like there's just these subtleties to his performance that I just think are so amazing. I can't say enough great things about Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Number 4 for me is going to go to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003. I have a very special place in my heart for that film because my two best friends at the time, you know, one is unfortunately passed away, and then my other good friend, he lives on the East Coast now, but they both took me to see that the weekend before my wedding, and it was so much fun. It's actually what got me into loving the original as much as I do now, because back then I was kind of a passive fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, even though I loved it. But this remake I think is fantastic. Again, Marcus Nispel did a terrific job directing it. You have R. Lee Ermey, the late great R. Lee Ermey. It's sad that we've lost him. I think Andrew Bernarski was a fantastic Leatherface. My second favorite to Gunnar Hansen. But you also have Jessica Biel. You have such a fantastic cast. Very well done, paying tribute to the original Hooper film, but also doing something different, not trying to replicate things, bringing a new take onto Leatherface and the family. The only little thing that I don't understand why they did is they changed the name from Sawyer to Hewitt. I wish they would have just kept it the Sawyers, but again, that's a little thing. Smallest gripe I have. I think the music works, the atmosphere, the look of the film, yes, it's more glossy than the original. It works for me. It's fantastic. It scares the shit out of me still. I think it's still so effective and so well done. Can't say enough great things about it. Number 3 for me is was one that surprised me because I've mentioned in a few videos, prior to The Walking Dead becoming the phenomenon that it has, I was never a big zombie fan. I was a fan of George Romero, mostly for Creepshow, but you know, I respected the man, and you know, I knew he brought so much to the table with his Dead films, especially Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. Out of those films, Day of the Dead is my favorite, but I have to say, and this might piss off a lot of Romero purists, I love the Dawn of the Dead remake more than the original. That's just me. Again, it has to probably do with the fact that I saw it first. I didn't see the original Dawn of the Dead first, I saw the remake first, and I just absolutely love it. It is fantastic. I think it's, you know, written by James Gunn, directed Zack Snyder, who I think is a terrific director. That film visually just takes you to another world. I love the opening of the film with the song When the Man Comes Around by the late great Johnny Cash. Just everything about it setting you up for this adventure you're going to go on in this world where zombies have taken over, these people that are trapped in the mall, and you have a fantastic cast. I love Sarah Polley. I've been a fan of her since first time I saw her on Friday the 13th, the series, back in '87 when she was a real little girl. Fan of Ving Rhames, where he is just amazing, amazing actor. Mekhi Phifer, terrific cast. Amazing execution, very scary. The fact that they used people, like in scenes where a zombie would have an arm missing or a zombie would have legs missing, they would actually use real amputees. So it's just seamless, absolutely fantastic. The movie is just terrific, and it's one I never get tired of watching. Absolutely fantastic film. Number 2 on my list is going to be John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, I've only seen The Thing from Another World once, so when I saw this film growing up, I didn't realize it was a remake of an older film. But I can't say enough great things about it. I've talked about The Thing I've talked about The Thing on this channel ad nauseum. It's become one of my favorite horror films of all time. In fact, it's in my top 10 of favorite horror films of all time. Kurt Russell, the amazing Keith David, Wilford Brimley, the amazing music by Ennio Morricone, the atmosphere, the setting, the effects by Rob Bottin, which are still fantastic. Still hands down better than any CGI you can see in a film, even to this day in my opinion. And then of course, you know, it's masterfully directed by the legend that is John Carpenter, one of my favorite directors of all time. The Thing is just a masterpiece and one I never get tired of watching. I watch it at least several times a month. Fantastic film. And my number one, which should come as no surprise for people that have been following my channel and been friends with me and know how much I love the Friday the 13th films. The Friday the 13th remake or reboot, whatever you want to call it, that is my favorite of all time. I don't get the hate that this film got. When I went and saw this movie in the theater 10 years ago, which is fucking crazy that we've never gotten another Friday the 13th movie outside of the amazing Never Hike Alone. But, you know, in terms of the Paramount New Line, you know, we've never gotten a follow-up to this film or Freddy vs. Jason. But, you know, this remake, reboot, I was skeptical about it first, but I felt like after Jason X, if you're going to take it somewhere else, you have to almost remake it. I mean, I would have liked to have seen where they could have gone after Jason X, but who knows what that would have been like. I have heard rumors about what Todd Farmer had in mind, and they were awesome. But the remake was awesome. Again, directed by Marcus Nispel, who did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I absolutely love this remake. I will defend it till my last breath. I think it's got every element you want in a Friday the 13th film. It's got fantastic gore. It's got amazing women, hottest women I've seen in a Friday the 13th film, probably since part 5. A really good story. You got compelling characters. I really thought Jared Padalecki was fantastic in it. Dano Padabacker was great as well. You got the douche guy in it. You got the stereotypical people that are always in these films, and they all work well together. I thought Derek Mears was hands down the best Jason since Kane Hodder left the mantle. Of course, you only had Ken Kirzinger in between them, but I felt like Derek picked up the mantle, ran with it, paid homage to some of these greats that carried the machete and wore the hockey mask before him, but made the character his own. He was scary. He was intimidating. He is fantastic as Jason. I hope whenever we get another Friday the 13th film that Derek will be able to reprise his role as the character. I think the movie is fantastic. I wish they could have used Harry Manfredini's score. That was like one little thing I didn't like about it. The music isn't as memorable as the old movies, but still, that is like a small thing to even complain about. The film has been on heavy rotation with me for the last decade. I never get tired of watching it. I think it's fantastic. I don't get the hate for it. I think it's just that people, and the fact that we haven't gotten a new film in 10 years just shows that I think a lot of the fans that were outraged by this film for whatever fucking reason it was have derailed that in some way prior to the lawsuit between Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham, because that's why the studios didn't have any faith in putting out a new one, because so many horror fans hated on this movie when it had elements that made the other films so iconic and successful. So I don't get it. I love it. Friday the 13th remake or reboot, whatever you want to call it, is my favorite remake of all time. And that's going to be it. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Sean, thank you so much for tagging me in it. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed doing this. All of these films are movies that I own. They are in my horror vault with all my other movies. I watch them all the time. Some of them are on my phone, so you know they're with me all the time. I'm going to tag some more people in this. Now, some of these people might have already been tagged, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'm going to tag Count Von Strange. I'm going to tag Christian Hannah Horror, and I'm going to tag Horror Gal. All great friends. I hope you guys will do one of these videos as well. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this this challenge or this question of top 10 horror remakes. Thanks so much again for everyone for watching, and stay tuned for some great videos coming real soon. Take it easy, stay scared as always. Peace. I have a Patreon page. If everybody wants to help support me, the link is down below. And if you do help support me, Dracula here will get more treats, and Dracula really loves his treats. So any support that you can give me would be very, very much appreciated. Right, Drac?